At NTV, I am Viola here, and it's really a pleasure to have you. Go on our social media and be a part of this conversation. We're about to have a very important conversation in the country at the moment. And also, we are streaming live on our website, that is ntv.co.ug. Make sure you don't miss any part of the show, as well as our subsequent programming. So away from that, we go to our Kickstarter segment for this morning, and it's Interrogating Uganda's Protection of Sovereignty Act 2026. I have my guests here ready. So Parliament passed the Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026, a law that government says will shield the country from foreign interference. But behind that promise lies a storm of questions about the economy, about democracy, about the everyday Ugandan whose life is quietly tied to global flows of money, of ideas, of opportunity. You can consider this: Uganda received about $2.5 billion in remittances in 2025, and that is money sent home by citizens abroad, equivalent to roughly 3.8% of the GDP of the country, and a critical lifeline for millions of households. We are talking about people receiving money from their relatives working abroad. And to make sense of this, on the set today, we are joined by two of my guests. That is Sarah Birete. She's Executive Director, Center for Constitutional Governance. We are also joined by Honorable Fungaro Caps Hassan. He is Deputy President for the FDC, Northern Uganda, and he's also an MP-elect for Obonge constituency. You are welcome to the set.
Thank you very much, my dear sister.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you.
You're welcome.
The management and staff of NTV, more so at the moment of the celebration of NTV at 20 years.
Thank you
for giving us this opportunity. I'm glad to be here. You, my dear viewers outside there, my beloved people of Obongi and FDC fraternity, all Ugandans who are tuned in,
and
welcome.
Your camera is here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for hosting us, and good morning, viewers. I wish also to congratulate NTV over 20 years of remarkable journalism in Uganda.
Thank you.
And glad to be on this show to discuss the passing of the Protection of Sovereignty Bill.
You are welcome, Sarah. And so on Tuesday, Parliament passed the controversial bill. We saw a lot of activity moving in and out of, legislators whispering in corridors and talking. And this question will first go to you, Hassan, Honorable Hassan. You are waiting in the wings. I actually saw some of your colleagues up there in the rafters, also looking at what's happening. So how does that make you feel, knowing that you're coming to Parliament and you have such a bill that has created a lot of stir within the public? Do you think there was enough consultation before this bill was tackled in Parliament?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much. Indeed, this bill has been a matter of concern to me and to many like-minded Ugandans on the matter of ethics, good or bad. Ethics defines the moral goodness or badness of something. And I would like you to call upon Ugandans, first of all, to take it that the governance of Uganda should no longer be pinned on legality alone. That legality is what is allowed by the law. Something legal, the law has permitted it. But you can even see now in our parliament, law can permit bad things. Law can allow bad things which hurt Ugandans to be operational within the governance system of Uganda. And it has been like this for a very long time of human history, that some of the worst things that have affected humanity have ever been allowed by law. For example, slavery and slave trade at a certain time were legal, were permitted by law in many countries. Countries that participated heavily in the act of slavery and slave trade had slavery and slave trade accepted in their laws, in their law books. For example, in the United States of America, in Britain, many of these Western European countries, which now talk about human rights, had this thing, and also in other countries. Yet, slavery remained evil right from the day go. Many African people were mistreated, they were taken as slaves, they were sold off, many died along the way, but even as those things were happening, laws permitted the wrongdoings. Now, Uganda is taking that path of making wrong things to be accepted by law. For example, our constitution is no longer as holy as it's supposed to be since it was made by our forefathers, foremothers, who sat in the CA and passed the constitution in 1995. Many things have been removed out of it through the amendment processes. That was a lawmaking process. The age limit was removed. Term limit was removed. Now, there are also laws which have been made. They were not there before. The Public Order Management Act, which restricts the operation of multi-party, the operation of political parties in the multi-party dispensation. You can also see the NGO Act, which limits civil society in the expression of their rights, the freedom of association, the freedom of assembly, and many more laws which have tended to be like laws taking Uganda to the side of dictatorship. Actually, dictatorship is now legally authorized in Uganda.
Would you say that we are using the law to sanitize some of the bad things we want to
No.
Sure.
Actually, the laws now which are coming like these ones are legalizing oppression, subjugation, misrule, corruption without checks and balances. This is what is happening. As long as you are okay with the President Museveni being in power, you are okay, you are good to go. Now, Uganda should look at this law here, which is in the making. It is now a bill passed by Parliament. If the President assents to it, it becomes a law. Maybe by now he has assented to it because he was desperately in need of this thing. But now also people should thank all those who, I would like to thank myself, but also those who are concerned should thank all people who participated in the process of making this law when they were called upon to go to Parliament to express their views. Yeah. Beginning with my sister here near me, I would like to say thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For picking interest and taking the courage to see and say that there is something wrong in this law.
Speaking about something wrong, I'm bringing
then number
Sarah
two,
in.
Before you bring her in, let me finish thanking these people. Civil society, here represented by my sister, Sarah, colleague in the debate. Then also religious leaders who came and presented. There is a new set of religious leaders emerging when it comes to moral guidance. We have some questions about some of our well-known, well-established religious leaders in the sense of when we need guidance from them. They tend to drift towards Museveni, the wrongdoer. It's like they have become part of the wrongdoing club. You see, you religious leaders who are well-established, you check yourselves. Are you guiding Uganda? Can we run to the mosque? Can we run to the church when we are being persecuted outside and you are the one inside there? Oh, we should fear you. Because
I saw Ugandans exchanging with the Archbishop in Boston.
There are certain things here. Then also we would like to thank academia. People from Makerere University and other universities, they came out boldly. Then we would like to thank also the professionals in different fields. People from the legal, Uganda Law Society. We have also the legal fraternity, yes, Uganda Law Society, thank you very much. We would like to thank the professional inside government, in government institutions. Good is good and bad is bad, no matter where you are placed. This particularly goes to Bank of Uganda and my brother, the governor, Bank of Uganda, my brother from West Nile. I thank you very much for reflecting our honesty as people of West Nile, no matter the price we may face when we speak the truth. Bank of Uganda, Financial Intelligence Authority, all of you spoke properly. But now the question is, you who is in the army, you who is in the police. The police was deployed there like as usual. When there is a bill which is not really very palatable, which is not good in the public domain is brought to the House of Parliament, you find SFC, UPDF, this group of armed men and police, UPD, all these are brought there. Now for you, I want to ask you, my brothers and sisters, are you the people who have not yet seen the bad, the ethically unaccepted things which are being manufactured and placed in the laws of Uganda, in the policies of Uganda? Are you the one who have not seen? So when are you going to see?
Sarah, so I have with
I would
me
like
here
to call upon everybody who has not yet seen
to see
okay, that the Uganda is going in the wrong direction.
Thank you, Hassan.
Otherwise,
Hassan.
I'll come back and
I'm bringing in Sarah here. So we have a report of the Joint Committee of the Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs and the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs on the Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026. And they, I can see this is from the Office of the Clerk to Parliament. I was looking at page 12, where they talk about the Constitution of Uganda, where the power belongs to the people and people are supposed to exercise their sovereignty, you know, and guided by the Constitution. So government is telling you, we are trying to protect your sovereignty. We are not taking that away from you, but we are coming in to, you know, gazette it and protect you as you exercise your sovereignty. And that is the question I have for you, Sarah. Do you think this bill, if assented into law, is going to protect our sovereignty, or is it taking it away?
The Constitution protects the sovereignty of Uganda and Ugandans. I don't think there are any gaps in our Constitution. If there was any after 30 years, those gaps should have been closed through amendments. If you look at the law, the title, like we said, the old law, because what has been passed has changed more than 80%. The bill as introduced by the Minister of Internal Affairs was really terrible. And I want to join Honorable Fungaro in thanking Ugandans. I think really the public participation in the bill demonstrated that Ugandans are alive, and they can indeed push back. They have not been brought to their knees to get scared of engaging in critical questions of the day. And that was really a refreshing picture. Ugandans from all sectors saying no. And our Constitution is to the effect that laws are made to reflect the wishes, values and aspirations of the people.
Yes.
But also laws should not contradict the Constitution, because any contradiction is null and void to the extent of the inconsistency. The bill, after 80% of amendments, still has constitutional challenges, especially conflict with Article 1, the sovereignty of the people, Article 29 on free speech, especially regarding Clause 13 on an economic sabotage and the sanctions thereunder, and Article 38 on freedom to participate in governance. And I think Law Society has put the state on notice that they will be challenging these constitutional inconsistencies and any other procedural issues. So when you look at the bill, the way it has been passed, after 80% improvement, it is still challenging, especially for media. You know, when you seek to criminalize investigative journalism, free speech, talking about the economy is a crime. So how should people get market information? How should investors determine which sectors to invest in or when to do so that they maximize profits? If you criminalize interests of a foreigner, then what happens? I know that Clause 2, subsection 2, was narrowed down to focus on particular crimes, but there are still overreaching statements in that. Largely, the improvements were welcome because the committee and the Attorney General responded to the call of the people. But the procedural issues notwithstanding, If you make a new law, should it be subject to new scrutiny? Or you are simply saying we are incorporating? And to what extent do you incorporate? Did, for example, the object of the bill changes because they are constitutional court decisions, to the extent that if the object or purpose of the bill changes, then that's a new law. So is this a new law or the old law?
Spoke about that. He said that, you know, there are versions of the bill. There was the first one, then there was the one where the president came out on X and communicated, and then the speaker dismissed that is not official communication from the State House. So you notice, and this is me speaking on behalf of the public, with that kind of communication, with that kind of back and forth, it leaves us confused.
But also the law is largely redundant because it addresses issues that are already legislated for. If you look at the range of exemptions, the law exempts everybody. So who are you then? What is the mischief that you are trying to address? Yes, and the exemptions were introduced in amendments. But after these exemptions, the law is redundant because it says any entity already legislated is not a focus of the bill. So what sections of society are you legislating for? Last evening, the president put a message on his X handle thanking MPs.
But I have a question about that X handle. I saw the speaker saying that is not real. And when Joe actually came out with the hard copy of the evidence of the tweet about the bill, the first bill, the speaker did not think it was real. So how serious should we take the communication on that X handle even?
No. It's just that, well, of course, the president's official handle is verified. And he usually communicates directives through his X handle. Even when he goes to make speech, like he will be in Kororo, that speech will be on the X handle. So what is illegal and what is not illegal? I don't want to take that comment of the speaker seriously. The speaker had an intention, chaired that house with a deliberate outcome that she needed to produce. And her intention was clearly demonstrated at the end of the house. But also the, unprofessional ways of, for example, you are there demonstrating that you're partisan. The rules of procedure of parliament require the speaker to be impartial. But she's there saying, I told you, just give me the numbers and I will have your job done. She's not a speaker of Uganda. She's just a speaker of NRM. And I think the party needs to deploy her in the right place where she needs to be.
The bill also passed amidst accusations that some voices from the opposition were not heard, and I understand you come from the FDC for the northern Uganda. How do you feel about how the opposition was handled? And it was a speaker in charge of how the entire process was happening. How do you feel about how the opposition engaged in this passing of the bill?
First of all, I would like to acknowledge the fact that the environment in which the opposition operates is not good. There are a lot of pressures which come within the system, pressurizing us, limiting us in the way we can express ourselves. So what has happened in this case is not out of the ordinary. It is the same thing over and over again, seen here. But I would like to thank my colleagues from the side of the opposition who put up a spirited fight in spite of the hostile environment limiting the ability to speak out. The leader of the opposition, number one, Right Honorable Senyonyi Joel, in the House, he was able to bring out what he saw was wrong, and that was good. That attempt made was a good one. I would like to also thank my brothers, Jonathan Odur, Olanya Gilbert, and all the others who put up their voices on the alternative, on the minority report. That one was good enough to document and present the dissenting views of not only the opposition political party members, but also those who share the same views from the civil society organizations, from the religious leaders, academia, the technical and the civil arms of the government, particularly the Governor Bank of Uganda and his group. So this minority report will be there in the archives of Parliament, in the archives of history of Uganda. And I would like also all of you who made presentations there to document and keep for the future your presentations, so that whatever comes in future as the evil from this bill, people will see, they will read what you said, what others said, against what will have turned out to be. Because more and more things are going to come out of this thing. Finally, on this matter, Ugandans should go to the intent and the consequences of this bill. What was it intended to cure? Now, this bill is about movement of money from outside into Uganda, movement and application of money in politics. But now, sovereignty, which is the power, ultimate power of decision making, has been affected by money first. Money in Uganda here, Ugandan money. This bill has not talked about the evil about the use of money to influence decision making processes. NRM is the culprit number one. President Museveni is the culprit number one, the headmaster of all the wrongdoers. Because you go to the election, this recent election which we came out of, money was officially distributed village to village, parish to parish, in the electoral process, as if it was an official thing, it was allowed.
It could be wrong, but it's within the borders.
Yeah, these are the things which you say, wrong things now getting allowed legally, accepted, and making them to be like part of policy, that it is okay to distribute money. And they tell people, come, they are distributing money there. Just nothing, no message. The thing is that come, NRM money is being distributed in this village for the election. And then they say, is it for the woman MP? Or is it for the president? No, this one is for the president. They say this one is for the president. Now, with all the intelligence networks, you hear money being distributed and they tell the people, this money is for the election of the president. Come and sign. And people go and sign. So now, you want people to watch you using money to buy votes. And you have now made it official that winning requires money. And you have now closed the money channels in Uganda. It can only go to your relatives, friends, and in-laws, and party members. Friends are now the party members. They are the ones who are allowed to have money. For us as opposition, even if we have our own ways of making money here, they close your businesses. Now, they have now closed through this the possibility of us mobilizing money from outside. And yet money is required in the politics. You have made money to matter. You have made money to be needed in the politics of Uganda. But now I want to tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, don't close all the channels. Because pressure, a machine that has pressure generating capabilities must have safety valves. Otherwise, the system can explode badly. You see? You don't close all the safety valves for Ugandans to breathe. Because you have closed the ways of people getting money in Uganda. You have limited these ways of getting money to some people. You have to be an NRM cadre if you are to operate a profitable business. You have to be linked to these big people if you have to operate a business where you get money here. Now, you have to be linked to them if you have to bring money from outside Uganda to Uganda or take money from Uganda to outside Uganda. This is wrong.
I actually saw one of the MPs saying that all we want to do is to understand you're bringing in money. Where are you bringing it from and for what reason? We just want to know. It's innocent. It's very innocent.
The intent there is, you see, when you are saying something, go beyond what you see. What is the purpose? First of all, if I say I'm bringing money for the mobilization activities of the FDC, is that illegal? FDC is a legally registered political party. And FDC must organize and mobilize. And mobilization and organization requires resources. You need a car, you need a motorcycle, you need the fuel, you need the airtime. These are legally accepted. Why do you get annoyed when you see me bringing money for the mobilization of the activities of FDC. Now, you are saying anything around 400 million is bad. Now, you put a mobilization program for a district like Obongi, a district like Kisoro, which has difficulties of traveling. Road network in Kabale, there are those places you're going up there, in Kasese, those Bundubujo. How much money are you going to spend? Now, multiply by the number of districts. But if you see me, Fungaro Kaps Hassan, Deputy President of the FDC, bringing money in billions for FDC mobilization and organization activities, why do you want to get annoyed? Because from Karamoja to Kisoro, if you want to mobilize, definitely you need a lot of money.
You need
transport. And it is accepted.
Sarah.
So that's where the problem is. Anyway,
this law, to many people, mirrors
the last word here is,
I need to bring in Sarah. Yes. I'll come back to you, Honorable Hassan. So Sarah, this law, to very many people, it mirrors restrictive foreign agent laws that we have seen in countries like Russia and China. And so I have also seen a law somewhere, and I will not point out the country, but it's an Asian country, where the police has a right to come and walk up to you, Sarah, and say, bring your phone. I suspect you're a criminal, and they go through your messages. Messages to the love of your life and everything. It's a law, it's been put there, and the people feel certain ways, but it's a law already, and there is nothing you can do. So when you look at that kind of law, countries like China and Russia, they've been pointed out to have similar laws to this, in case we get this as our law. So how do you respond to concerns of citizens that are talking about Uganda shrinking our democratic space gradually from time to time?
Yeah, before we go outside Africa, Zimbabwe and Ethiopia had similar laws. And Zimbabwe's Patriotic Act was repealed last year by their constitutional court. And Ethiopia recalled their own law, the Civil Society and Charities Act, that was limiting foreign funding to come into the country after the law had crippled the economy in Ethiopia. When Ethiopia repealed their law, the economy, jump-started. The tenfold economy that we are talking about under the National Development Plan 4, we can only see it in Ethiopia if you're lucky to travel there, if you read about Ethiopia. The ability to build the biggest dam in Africa without any loans or grants by the people, by the Ethiopian people. All that progress happened after repealing the repressive law that was controlling foreign transactions or cross-border transactions in the country and crippling the economy. So beyond Africa, you have countries like Nicaragua, Bosnia, El Salvador, Russia, North Korea. Our first draft was really a mirror of the North Korea law. And because the Russian law was more progressive than the first draft that was introduced in Parliament, the Russian law protects national data systems, protects national data, and has elements of limiting competition and allowing national innovations to progress and be commercialized. The North Korea style was really the benchmark that the sponsors of the bill had done, controlling family remittances, controlling money for social protection, because the bill in its original form was controlling all transnational transactions. And if you go by the testimony of the Bank of Uganda governor, I think that was demonstrable enough, because that's our expert for macroeconomics in the country and quality control of the economy. The changes that have been ushered in, especially in the exceptions, a range of exceptions for all regulated sectors, exempting foreign direct investment, leaving the professional bodies like Bank of Uganda and the Financial Intelligence Authority to do their work. And it's also important to remind the listeners out there that actually these professional institutions controlling and managing foreign transactions in the country testified that there was no mischief. There was no problem. The Financial Intelligence Authority said they are effectively doing their work. They even demonstrated suspected bad money they had prevented using the anti-money laundering law. And that's what makes the law redundant. But if you go by the president's thank you note, I think finally the mischief was disclosed there, where the president refers to 1962, 1969, and events leading to the 1971 coup. It seems the president is scared that foreign people might overthrow his government. Even if that was the case, we have a range of provisions in the penal code, including treason and concealation of treason. Those laws take care of anybody working to overthrow a legitimate government. So the law is largely redundant, however sugar-coated it might be. It has no new aspect that is seeking to address, which is not legislated for in this country.
Does that affect our democracy as a country?
Of course, it's a tool for oppression. And under the warnings that we shared is that this law will largely be abused. It's just been planned for oppressing, targeting particular people. If there is an investigative journalist the regime wants to silence, they will implement this law on them, even when that's an exempted sector, because it's already regulated. If there are some political party leaders that the regime wants to come for, they will implement this law, even when we have the Political Parties and Organizations Act, and that's an exempted sector. If there are NGO activists the regime is looking for, they will put these Trump charges on them and wait for you to raise the exemptions in court as you defend yourself. So it's just a tool for oppression.
You spoke about the Money Laundering Act, and I remembered when URA confiscated about, I believe it was 10 billion US dollars at the airport recently. And so somebody has actually pointed out, if this truly has got no and 10 million.
But I think it was
10 million
it was discounted as fake news.
Oh, fake news.
Yes, well, because I followed the story. First of all, it was ridiculous. And I think nobody could confirm or deny. It was like fake news, stage managed to make a case. And the whistleblower
was actually written
to make a case for this bill.
It was just a stage managed story to make a case for this bill.
And so when you look at that, regardless of the fact that it was a state act, when you look at that, somebody pointed out that if the intentions are clean and clear and there is nothing shady going on, why don't we let the URA handle whatever you might want to bring in as FDC?
You see, just one point on that. Yes. You see, URA has scanners. Whatever package, even at the airport, at all entry centers, there are scanners. Those scanners enable the people to see the contents of a container, of a briefcase, of everything. So there is no magic. That is normal procedure. So if containers are coming in, URA is expected, because how do you put the cost of clearing those goods if you don't know the contents? So it doesn't even make sense that we insisted scan. No.
It now goes back to I'm looking at the intention of the law. The sought after law. The intention then goes back to understanding, okay, you have 400 million, what have you brought it for? Are you trying to incite violence or something using that money? It goes back to the intention of the money in itself, but not the money, because you had mentioned, trying to close all the valves and stopping inflow of money. So again, when you look at this bill, should it become law, you keep getting confused what it is all about, as you had pointed out, because if URA is doing their work and they're the ones responsible for that, then they can handle the money of the FDC or any other party. So why then would you have this law again trying to get involved with the money?
You see, the thing, as my sister said here, is malice, the fear of misuse of this law to to malice people. There are business people from the side of the opposition who have been affected negatively by the mechanisms which were intended to be good at first, mechanisms of checks and balances, legal, the collection of taxes. You are right. You import goods from abroad. For example, Honorable Kotogong, my colleague there, then in Parliament, a member of Parliament, a businessman, complained openly, and we saw what happened to him. Where you are a businessman, you have done all the procedural things properly, you have imported. He imported sugar. And the sugar reached Mombasa. Now the process of clearing to come here. Some people came here from this system of the UR. Now let's go and do your things. They took his documents and destroyed them. At the end of the day, these things were stuck at the port for a very long time. The containers, the materials, the goods brought from abroad. Then you pay demurrage, you pay charges for storage of these things at the airport, at the seaports there. At the end of the day, if you borrowed money from a bank, like most likely he could have done, the bank is increasing the cost through the accumulation of interest for the money you borrowed. You are also paying charges for keeping your goods in the storage facilities at the port or the airport. At the end of the day, when these things are given to you, you sell them at a loss. Your security, which you offered for a bank loan, maybe a house, is taken. At the end of the day, you are crippled economically. There are people who have been doing business in Uganda, and maybe they got contracts with the government. You supply goods and services, government fails to pay you. You have borrowed money from the bank. At the end of the day, the bank charges you interest, your security is taken. When the government did it deliberately to make sure that you are crippled. So there is misuse of good intentioned policies, practices, and laws towards targeted people like us, people from the opposition. Actually, in our induction and orientation training as members of parliament from the opposition side, we are advised against doing business with the government, no matter how profitable it can be. You can be attracted there that, okay, you are a contractor, you have machines, you can do roads very well, you have a company, now government has put a road here, that you come and work on this road. You apply, you have all the expertise. But you are from the opposition. The government will say, okay, now let him enter, bring the money, put the capital, inject everything. At the end of the day, when it comes to payment, they catch you. They will not give you the certificates necessary for so that you have completed the job and you need to be paid. At the end of the day, your business collapses. There are very many opposition-leaning people who have been rendered poor. In West Nile, we have a brother called Haj Hakim Moli. He was a contractor, a good man coming from Rhino Camp. But now this man has been rendered poor because the works which he did were not paid for deliberately as a way of silencing him.
I see.
Silencing him, and Haj Hakim is there. You can go and see. There are many other people who were not as open in terms of being political actors like Haj Hakim was, but they come from areas which are designated to be areas of poor people. If they see a rising man or woman in business from West Nile going up, they say, but how can you have money like this when you come from the wrong region? And the cripple this person. So this is the problem we fear in the misuse of the laws, policies, and tools of government.
And we're going to look at some other laws that have been passed, because also there is a report that shows that 42% of the laws that have been passed in these very interesting circumstances always end up in court and stay there for so long, delaying governance. So we are going to come back, and we are still scanning through the Sovereignty Bill 2026, interrogating Uganda's protection of the Sovereignty Bill 2026 with my guests here, Sarah and Hassan. We shall come back after this break and we continue trying to see what is the motive in all of this.
Thank you.
Welcome back, dear viewer. You're still watching Morning at NTV. I'm Viola Xasia, and if you've been with us since the beginning, we are really glad that you are here. And if you're just joining us, you are welcome. We are in our Kickstarter segment where we are looking at the Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026, and our question is what is it all about? What does it mean? Do you and I understand it well? And if passed into law or assented into law, what is going to happen to you and I, especially in our relation with foreigners, our engagement with other countries, the money we get from there, the money that you have been sent as, for example, a mother by your daughter that is working abroad, what is going to happen to all of that? And my guess that I will introduce them again if you're just joining. So we have Sarah Birete, Executive Director, Center for Constitutional Governance, and we also have next to me Honorable Fungaro Caps Fungaro, forgive me, excuse me, Fungaro Caps Hassan, and he is the Deputy President, FDC, Northern Uganda, and he is MP-elect Obongi constituency. He's actually the right person to talk to because you're getting into Parliament, and you started at a volatile time. Were you actually there when this was taking place?
Thank you very much. I have been in Parliament before, and I went out for a short time, then I've come back. So what takes place in Parliament there, I am not of a visitor. I'm not a stranger to these things.
Yes, but you're returning for the talk of Parliament at a very volatile time.
Yeah, for sure. The times are volatile, we can see. We are getting to the occasion of the swearing-in ceremony on the 13th, for my case. Then others, 14th and 15th of this month, which is just next week, when this bill is fresh. Yes. I can see it has already set the tempo high. And this would be part of the welcome mood for the new and totally new members of Parliament who are entering there for the first time. You can see where you're going.
The Speaker called it the Last Supper.
You can really see where you're going. In physics, we learn this. A moving object, a projectile, can be predicted where it is going to land if you know the following. One, the angle of projection. It is projected at what angle? The initial velocity. And the circumstances, the forces operating along the way, influencing the journey.
Where is our 12th Parliament likely to land from your estimation?
That is what I am saying, that there's something that I will tell you about.
Okay, Sarah, so I'll bring you here, bring you in. The bill allows, I can see here, inspections of premises without court orders.
That was amended.
That was amended.
Now it's with court order. I know that there is one MP who really wanted to revisit that, and it was absurd.
Yes. It's
good that he was defeated. He moved, Honorable Moses, and I didn't get to the second name. He moved the motion after the report of the committee had been adopted, that the Peace and Security Department should be allowed to raid people's homes, premises, offices, and the rest without court oversight. And it's very good that he was defeated. Whoever that was, it was really absurd.
Yes.
Because actions of executive, the doctrine of separation of powers is that actions of the executive should be subject to checks and balances by other institutions to protect the rights and freedoms of citizens. And in this particular instance, we are talking about the rights to privacy. If I am in my office or my home and then you are subject to random raids that are not supervised, because when you have a court order, you are mandated to give a report. First is to detail what you're looking for, the purpose of the inspection. Two, you give a report on the findings of that inspection. And then the person affected although the order is given ex parte, but the person affected can say, okay, you have come here with a court document, let me call my lawyers to be here. Give me 1 hour. So it protects a lot of fundamental rights and freedoms of the people.
Yes, thank you, Sarah, for that. I'll take you back a bit about the Constitution, Article 1, close to which talks about people of Uganda being governed, but according to their will, or with their will. Would you say that that is going to be upheld when we have this law in place, governing the people of Uganda according to their will?
Well, the will is expressed through elections.
Yes.
That Honorable Fungaro here and others have gone through. There are those who went through and opposed after staging court blocks and all that drama that we saw in elections. But so in those constituencies, there was no will of the people. And I want to clarify that it would be okay for any leader to go through an electoral process unopposed. Yeah. Meaning no challenger has come forward. But where the so-called unopposed is stage managed, you have blocked people who were scheduled for nomination, people expressed interest, you mount roadblocks, that one you've blocked the will of the people. So the will of the people, and indeed the article clause 4 is very clear. It should be expressed in regular, free and fair elections. That is also a contestable clause in this country, because I think we are very far from attaining. We have free and fair elections. We just attain, I think we've achieved regular, the element of regular, but on free and fair elections, we still have a long way to go as a country.
And staying with you, Sarah, civil society organizations have also warned that the bill will shrink civic space and suppress free expression. You are from the civil society fraternity. What are your thoughts? What can you say to that?
If you go to the definition of political activities, they are so broad. Those definitions, they are overly broad and vague. They still remain vague. They still constrain free expression, advocacy, and influencing policy. They are not as clear. They were not properly aligned. Combined with the clause 10, subsection 2, on prohibition of influencing policy, that takes away the right of citizens to be governed in accordance with the Constitution, because Article 29 and 38 is affected. When you add clause 13 on economic sabotage, then you're taking away the right of research, market research, and investigative journalism. Because you might make an article, for example, a raid on Bank of Uganda, a raid which happened after public participation of the bank in the bill. You follow that story and bring out investigative evidence that maybe people don't want published. Then you will be charged under political sabotage. Especially for an entity like NTV here, which has, where people have, foreigners have interests, then you could easily find yourself under the confines of clause 13. And those are worries that must be resolved by the Constitutional Court if this bill is assented to.
Hassan, we were looking at some legislators asking that the criminal sentencing of 20 years should be reduced to 10. I just wanted to ask you, do you think that is fair for something that is vaguely defined? It's not very clear what exactly you would have done wrong to go to prison for 20 years. Even bargaining for 10 is still, I mean, you can imagine someone bargaining for a sentence and saying, can we at least make it 10? But we clearly understand what crimes you would have committed to even go.
First of all, before you go to the crime, before you go to the punishment, what is the crime? I don't accept the crime, first of all. This crime of saying you brought 400 million into Uganda and
you declare.
You declare, maybe you did not declare, and then you have been arrested because of 100 million shillings. Then you are supposed to go to prison for...
We are bargaining now for 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
The bill has passed is 10 years. 10 years. It was reduced.
There is a problem still there. So for me, we should look at the act of wrongdoing. Is it valid? The validity of that act of wrongdoing. That's where the debate should go. Even if it is now permitted by law that money should be confiscated. This bill has been passed. It is going to be signed into law. Now, it does not remove the evil in it. The ethically wrong things do not become good just because the law has permitted them. You see, that's where we still remain. The debate still goes on and on until they come to the senses that what they are doing is wrong. The world is so closely knit together in terms of not only the movement of money and people, but also systems that you cannot live in isolation.
We are a landlocked country. And
we cannot. So for me, I would like Uganda still to remain firm that we are citizens of the world. When Ugandans need to move money, actually, what should worry us more is the movement of money outside Uganda. Movement of Ugandan things outside Uganda, Ugandan money, for example, taken by foreigners. That has to be the thing. Now, you look at sovereignty, I mean the power of decision making in companies, which Uganda has shares in. Your shareholding determines the power you hold, the power and influence you can have in that company. There are companies like Uganda Airlines. It sounds nice that it is Uganda Airlines, but who are the shareholders who own the shares there? You go to the other companies in Uganda here, the government of Uganda maybe has less than 50% shares, which means the government of Uganda, the people of Uganda, on whose behalf the government acts, have 50%, less than 50%, which means they have less powers of decision making than the foreigners who own more. So you are coming with this sovereignty bill now when you have already sold the sovereignty of Uganda very far, very early. Ugandans will go and see the areas where decision making is interfered with. This shareholding in companies, Ugandan government doesn't have more than 50. So which means the Ugandan government has less powers and of decision making there. So you have given out our sovereignty. What are you protecting now? You see? So this bill is not about protection of sovereignty. It is about protection of the regime of NRM. Why don't you make it very clear that the NRM regime protection bill, bring it like this, so that you make it a law that it is criminal.
And so
to remove the NRM from power, even with the ballot paper.
Speaking about the will is one thing, but also economic activity for the country, because we are looking at growth, is another. Those are the two main important things for me, from what I observed, the will of the people as well as economic activity. The Bank of Uganda warned it could trigger an economic disaster if you talked about closing the valves of inflows of money. And I just wonder what modeling did Parliament use to override such a warning? Sarah,
Okay.
you can.
No, I think the warning of the Bank of Uganda governor is what ushered in a range of exemptions.
No, you can see
And
that.
I think it was a stitch in time. First of all, it exposed the failure of government to consult. Because one would assume that a government bill, by the time it is processed through a cabinet memo, discussion, key stakeholder consultations, and then a bill is handed over to the drafting team to prepare, one would have assumed that they would have the input of Bank of Uganda, Uganda Human Rights Commission, and the FIA that challenged the bill and indeed warned through their testimonies. Government agencies should not be coming to the stage of testimonies. But they were never consulted. And you wonder what the rush is. This is a government that is ending on Monday, because I think swearing in is Tuesday.
Monday.
A government out of elections, ending on Monday, Parliament ended, they didn't even have space for proper debate, and you saw how they went on and on in the night. What is the rush? Two, you are processing a largely redundant bill where every sector you are talking about is already
Covered.
regulated. So what new elements are you bringing in? So the speed enactment, the rush, and of course the president in his first communication denied, said that's not my bill. Those are not the instructions. And you know, when a client removes instructions, then immediately the people where instructions have been removed, they pack their bags and go. But anyway, we have the bill to below, and questions will be answered by different arm of government.
We have spent all of our time discussing this sovereignty bill, but we shall obviously keep on bringing it here on NTV Uganda to make sure that our viewer out there understands what's really happening. You can't just keep seeing headlines in front of, at the front page of the Daily Monitor. We just have to make sure that you understand clearly what is happening, even though it's high up there in Parliament. They went there to represent you, so you must understand what's happening. So thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, our MP-elect Hassan, and I wish you well in Parliament when you go. But it was really good having you on this panel this morning. And I am Viola Kusasia. We have our reporter, Rashul Adidi. He is in Koboko, and he's looking at the district budget distribution, and he has the latest of how that is unfolding. So, Rashul, if you can hear me, please take it away.
All right.